about doing this. It's like, oh, nobody's going to want to come to that, Jeff. That's a bad idea. The 3 souls that will come to get donuts and whatnot, maybe it'll be profitable for them. So I do feel still very much and am a rookie at this. I'm not going to be giving you anything that's new, that you haven't heard before, especially if you've listened to Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, and other things that the sales guys have pushed your way if you work on the phones here. But what I think is going to happen, and I'm hoping that will happen, is that you're going to hear some of the same things, but from a different perspective, and that will help you, or just at least encourage you to think about the way you do things on the phones, or the way that you work with people here in the office. You can use those things in a different way. And if that improves your sales, your percentages, things like that, your ability to communicate with people, that's great. If not, you got free breakfast. So thanks for coming. So again, I do just want to say I'm very honored that all of you would come. I'd like to thank Jeff for giving me the opportunity. And I just want to put a disclaimer out there. I come from an education background, so I'm supposed to be a teacher, not in a sales office. So at any point, I'm talking, you have a question, you didn't understand something I said, just raise your hand and ask a question. This is not formal. I know I'm in slacks, dress pants, whatever. This is not formal. This is going to be a little bit of a dialogue. I'm going to share some things. I'm going to ask you some questions, and we'll just move along as time permits. So again, if you have a question, something is not clear, just raise your hand, and I will address you if I see your hand. Okay? The format of what this is going to look like. Again, Jeff said I'm very systematic. Yeah, I've changed the structure of this thing like 5 times. So my goal in this morning is kind of like what I just said. I want to communicate what I've learned about sales up to this point. So kind of my story of working here. And then I also want to share with you what I'm trying to do, what Joe is trying to do each time he's on a call. There's a plan that I have each time I get on the phone. This is what I'm trying to do. So I want to take that, give that to you all. You can change it, throw it out, whatever you think is most helpful for you guys. So that's kind of the format, and I just hope that's going to be helpful for you guys. So I want to start off with a question, and it's just kind of dialogue for a minute. Have any of you ever embarked on something that was new? Yeah, a few nods. Some of you are awake. Okay. Let me be a little more specific with that question. Have you ever began something new that prior to starting you had little or no knowledge or experience of? Okay, everybody's kind of shaking, nodding their head. Okay, so what are some ideas that are coming to your minds? And I have some specific ones for a lot of people in here. So if you can't give me one, I will throw them out there. What are some of those things? Parenting. Brian, put that on the list. Absolutely. What do you mean by that? Parenting.
Raising a kid, providing for a kid, training a kid, the whole shebang.
Yeah, the whole package. And depending on probably your background or your experience with kids, and especially as guys, when I first held one of my nephews, it's kind of like, am I going to break him? I don't really know how soft I can be. Oh, you're supposed to hold his head so his neck just doesn't, fall on the ground, something like that. So yeah, so just familiarity, and then it's more than that. It's providing, training. How do I teach this kid? Absolutely. What else? Marriage. Right, Thad. Explain for us, please. Not all of us are married.
Well, you start living with this girl that's wasn't a member of your family and now is, and that's just, they're different from you.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out how that works.
Well, and obviously, I don't know, because I'm not married yet, but it's even different than when you're dating, when you're engaged. There are things that you find out you don't see until you start living together.
Yeah,
like
now you're around each other, all the time.
All the time. She doesn't go away.
Yeah, which is good.
Yeah, it's good, right.
But it's just different.
Yeah. Well, and from my perspective, that starts with dating, to where it's awkward when you're around them sometimes. You're like, okay, how do I keep myself? What questions do I ask? How much do I talk? Do I talk? This is just awkward, and you got to learn You got to learn that, right? I mean, you can go to conferences, you can read books, but until you're actually in life with that person, you don't know how to do those things. Yeah, one more. So we've got, these are relational things, right? And those are good. What's more of a practical, just something you do?
Learning Russian.
Yes. Amen. Language acquisition. I put it on the list. Good. Good. Okay, so what do you mean by that? Why is that hard? What about that?
Well, I remember being in class and our teacher would bring up rules in a language that I never even heard of, because we don't have most things. It's like this is in Russian, this is in English, and you can compare it. But there are some things that were just completely new. You couldn't even compare it, like how the language works. So there were days we were just walking away like, wow, that's just wild.
Right.
And it can be a really long learning process. Start getting these rules down, memorizing them, and then putting them into use.
Yeah, definitely. So not just grammar, but then you get into vocabulary, and then you go out and you're supposed to try to speak this, and you have those butterflies of, am I going to say this right? Are they going to think I said something else?
Yeah.
And be really embarrassed. This is awkward. This is hard. Right? Okay, those things, great examples. Those things, when I came to work at what was Quality Benefits, which is now Quality, when I came to work here, sales, this type of environment, office work, being around people consistently, completely foreign to me. Completely foreign. Just a little background on me. I grew up in rural Oklahoma. My dad has done flooring just about as long as I've been alive, 26, 27 years. And he put me on a mower when I was 10. So I've been mowing yards. I've been out playing in the dirt. That was my work. That was labor for me. One of the best presents I ever received growing up as a kid was a handheld hatchet. I went out. I chopped down a tree. I told my friends it was this big. It was really only about like that. I chopped that thing down in about 2 days. I was so proud of myself. I was familiar with that type of work. In college, the job that I had the longest was a landscaping job. I'm familiar with going out, sweating, getting in the dirt, being dirty, having to clean up after work. And coming here it was foreign. I didn't know what it meant to sit in a chair all day. I knew how to kind of use a cell phone, but then they gave me this thing that you put on your head, to headset, and all of these things, just completely foreign. So I came here, and some of the feelings that Bryant has had with parenting, Aaron's had with learning Russian, Thad's had with marriage, you're just afraid. You're motionless. You don't know what to do. But like what Aaron was talking about, in any of those situations, there are